Well, developers are definitely seeing the need to focus on labour availability as one of the main drivers of where they locate their centres when they are developing new logistics space. A couple of years ago we did a survey of what the main drivers of location, and it was all about customers, all about being near the big conurbations, being near the drivers of demand. Now it's very much about can they actually find the labour to staff their sites. So it's really about labour rather than customer. And obviously there's a cost element to that as well. So obviously labour costs have been driving up as unemployment's come down across the region. That's a major driver for location now. Not only can you get the labour, how much is it going to cost? Clearly, Western European labour costs are very high, and generally Central European to a large extent are lower, but the wage cost growth is much higher in the East than it is in the West, and at some point they're going to cross over. Probably 10 years time, but it's definitely a trend we're seeing that is driving location of development. Construction costs are definitely rising. I've heard talk of between 10 and 20% in the last sort of couple of years. That's probably across the board. So that's definitely been a factor in driving returns down for developers. So they're having to drive rents as a result of that. So that's one of the trends we see that should drive rents in the future, as well as the fact that yields have now reached the bottom. You're not getting your returns purely on yield anymore. You're having to look for rents to drive a lot of your total return. So that's clearly a definite trend that we're seeing from developers as well. The internet penetration in the UK is about 17 or 18% now. In the US about 15%. In Europe on average it's about 11, and there are countries where it's 3 or 4, like Spain and Italy. So there's definitely a catch-up. You can say on average Western Europe is probably 5 years behind the UK, and then Central Europe is probably another 4 to 5 years behind that. So there's definitely a catch-up process over the next 5 to 10 years. So I would see that continuing to drive logistics demand for the foreseeable future, 5 to 10 years. This is not a short-term trend. This is going to continue for the foreseeable future, definitely.